This podcast is brought to you by Three Rivers Energy Partners. In today's episode of Digest This.
$2 to $3 trillion added to GDP by 2050 if the U.S. leads the charge?
We already produce about a third of all RNG globally, 30 to 35%, and our natural gas pipeline network is massive.
Using RNG for ship fuel can reduce emissions way more than a lot of folks realize.
Welcome to Digest This, Unpacking Our Sustainable Future, where we dive deep into the latest developments in sustainability and renewable energy. Join us in exploring the pioneering solutions and technologies that are shaping our future. Now, let's dive into today's episode.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Digest This, Unpacking Our Sustainable Future. I'm Alex, and as always, I'm joined by the endlessly brilliant Emily. Emily, we keep saying this, but what a time to be talking renewables, especially with the maritime sector kind of at this major crossroads.
Absolutely, Alex. There's a ton of change coming. I mean, this IMO net zero framework, it's not just another policy tweak. It could unify how shipping emissions are managed globally. No more of this patchwork of regional rules. Instead, there's going to be one clear climate standard every major vessel has to meet, which frankly is long overdue.
Yeah, and it's not just an environmental shakeup, it's a massive economic lever too. Vanguard Renewables' recent white paper pegs the total opportunity at, $2 to $3 trillion added to GDP by 2050 if the U.S. leads the charge? That's honestly mind-blowing. Tens of billions in new revenue just for the ag sector alone. Hundreds of thousands of jobs. These aren't like hypothetical green jobs either. We're talking everything from logistics to plant construction to ongoing operations.
That's exactly right. Every time there's policy clarity at this global scale, it kind of unlocks this floodgate of innovation investments. Companies suddenly know the rules, so they're not guessing about risk, and you just see this wave of new ideas and new money. Sometimes I wonder if people outside that policy bubble really appreciate how much something like the IMO framework can transform entire supply chains, overnight in a sense.
Yeah, and, it's like last episode we touched on how regional resilience kept solar and RNG moving despite all the federal uncertainty. Now we're looking at a possible global standard for one of the hardest to abate sectors. If the U.S. moves fast here, this really is the once-in-a-generation opportunity Vanguard was talking about. And the decisions happening this year will basically decide who captures all the value down the line.
And that window doesn't stay open forever, right? Other regions will move too, but right now, the U.S. has the right mix of policy momentum, technology, and really just the ability to move quickly if the stars align. It's honestly a bit of a nail-biter if you care about American industry leading on sustainability. Let's dig into what's actually powering this maritime fuel shift, bio-LNG. So for folks who aren't industrial energy nerds like us, bio-LNG is basically a liquefied fuel made from renewable natural gas, or RNG. And RNG itself comes from organic waste. Think spent grain, bagasse, manure, food scraps, landfills, and more.
But here's the kicker, because this stuff is made by capturing methane that may otherwise leak into the atmosphere, or by removing energy-intensive processes to treat the material, the carbon intensity of bio-LNG isn't just low, it can actually go negative. Using RNG for ship fuel can reduce emissions way more than a lot of folks realize. It's not some feel-good marginal swap. It's real, measurable decarbonization.
And the U.S. is, by the numbers, basically in pole position. We already produce about a third of all RNG globally, 30 to 35%, and our natural gas pipeline network is massive, over 3 million miles. But it's not just about climate stats. A lot of times, it's what bridges the gap between environmental value and hard business returns. And with pipelines already in place, no need to overhaul infrastructure. Bio-LNG and RNG can just plug into the systems we already have for natural gas. We talked about this in episode 8, how leveraging existing assets lets renewables scale so much faster. This is that dynamic, playing out but on a global export level.
All right, so we've got the global rules, we've got the technology, and the U.S. sits on this huge pile of opportunity. But here's where it gets tricky. If policy and accounting don't recognize the methane abatement piece, Or if we don't have robust book and claim logistics, we risk leaving a lot of value on the table. It's not just a regulatory detail, it honestly decides if LNG even sticks around in the maritime mix or gets squeezed out by compliance costs.
Exactly. For listeners who haven't heard that term before, book and claim is basically an accounting system that lets the environmental benefits of RNG be matched to fuel buyers, regardless of whether the physical molecules move together. It's huge for connecting inland RNG production to coastal shipping fuel markets without having to build a new set of pipes. But none of it works if the rules aren't clear on how you count life cycle emissions, and especially whether methane destruction gets the right credit. It's kind of like, do we want to incentivize the fastest path to real-world carbon cuts, or just move deck chairs on the Titanic? And none of this is on autopilot, right? The next year is going to set the trajectory for decades. Will we grant life cycle credits and methane abatement the importance they deserve? Or are we going to trip over technicalities and lose this shot to lead globally? There's risk, but there's honestly a much bigger upside if we get this right. The U.S. can support its farmers, meet IMO targets, and show the world what clean energy leadership actually looks like on the ground.
All right, let's put a pin in it there for today. But wow, this is one of those inflection points that doesn't come around often. We'll keep watching how the IMO rules take shape.
There's so much more coming down the pipeline. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Tell us what you want to hear next and keep those questions coming. Alex, always a pleasure.
Back at you, Emily. Thanks, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you next time as we keep unpacking a more sustainable future, one episode at a time. Thank you for listening to Digest This, Unpacking Our Sustainable Future, a Three Rivers Energy Partners podcast. Three Rivers Energy Partners is a renewable energy company that empowers organizations with the ability to create a sustainable future by converting organic waste streams into renewable energy and resources. To get the latest episode of Digest This, or to find out more about Three Rivers Energy Partners, visit threeriversenergy.com or find us on LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. The sustainable future is being created right now. Keep exploring and keep up to speed with the latest in renewable energy and sustainability. See you next time.